You never really forget the people who hurt you. No matter how much time passes, they linger in the corners of your mind, ghosts of decisions you wish had gone differently. For me, it's been 35 years since that night, since everything fell apart with one of my most trusted persons. Chijioke and I were inseparable once. We met in university, both young, hungry, and brimming with ambition. But then, we were a team. I was a cybersecurity expert, the guy who found vulnerabilities and protected systems. He was this genius software developer, creating tools and platforms that pushed boundaries. Together, we built systems that turned heads and caught the attention of industry professionals. We dreamed big of launching a company that would transform cybersecurity for African businesses. Long hours, late nights, and endless brainstorming sessions defined our lives. It wasn't long before success started trickling in. We were invited to pitch competitions, secured freelance contracts, and got noticed by some of the biggest names in the tech industry. But I think that's when the first crack began to form in our friendship. I got selected for a prestigious cybersecurity internship at a top firm, while Chijioke's application for the same program was rejected. I tried to play it down, but I saw the way his smile faltered when I shared the news. "Good for you, Tunde," he said, his tone tight. It wasn't the words, it was the way he said them. So I brushed it off. We were friends. What was one internship compared to everything we built together? The resentment grew like a shadow as I started building a name for myself in the cybersecurity world. Clients requested me specifically for contracts. Conference invitations came addressed to me. At first, I thought Chijioke was okay with it. He never said anything outright, and we kept working together. But I started noticing his silence, the way his congratulations felt forced, and the way he withdrew whenever I shared good news. Then Adora came into the picture. I met her at a cybersecurity conference in Lagos. She was a guest speaker, captivating the room with her sharp insights and infectious energy. Adora wasn't just brilliant, she was kind, funny, and down to earth in a way that made you feel like you'd known her forever. We hit it off immediately, bonding over shared interests and late night conversations about tech, life, and everything in between. Adora and I started dating not long after. She became my anchor, my confidant, and my partner in every sense of the word. But relationships are never perfect, especially when work consumes your life. Adora's patience was tested often. I spent long hours in meetings, troubleshooting issues, and preparing for big client pitches. She told me more than once that she felt like she was competing with my work for my attention. I tried to do better, but the demands of my career then pulled me away. That's when Chijioke stepped in. At first, it seemed harmless. Adora told me he'd been checking in on her when I was busy, asking how she was holding up. "He's just looking out for me," she said. I trusted him completely. He was my brother. But the calls became more frequent, the messages more personal. One evening, after a particular tense conversation, Adora admitted something that knocked the wind out of me. "Tunde, we need to talk," she said, her voice heavy. "What's wrong?" "It's Chijioke," she said. "He kissed me." I froze. I didn't let it go further, she continued quickly. "I pushed him away. But he's been saying things about us, about how he understands me better than you." My mind raced. I didn't want to tell you, Adora said. I confronted Chijioke the next day, anger simmering beneath the surface. You kissed Adora, I demanded. His reaction stunned me. Instead of apologizing, he smirked. She deserves someone who actually pays attention to her, he said, his tone laced with bitterness. Are you serious right now? I snapped. You've been sabotaging my relationship. Why not? He shot back. You've always had everything, Tunde. The opportunities, the accolades, Adora. You don't deserve her. His words cut deep. We argued, the tension boiling over into a physical fight. For a moment, it felt like we'd finally hit rock bottom. But I still believed we could salvage our friendship. I thought time would heal the wounds. Months later, Chijioke called me. Tunde, he said, his voice uncharacteristically calm. I want to make things right. Let's talk. I initially hesitated, but I eventually agreed. He came over to my apartment with a bottle of wine and a smile that felt too practiced. To new beginnings, he said, pouring drinks. But something felt off. His demeanor was too casual, his laughter too forced. I hesitated before taking a sip, but the moment I tasted the wine, I knew something was wrong. My vision blurred, my limbs grew heavy, and the wave of nausea washed over me. I collapsed onto the couch, my body unresponsive. As darkness edged in, I heard his voice, cold and venomous. You don't get it, do you? He said, pacing the room. You've taken everything from me, everything, and now I'm taking it all back. I tried to move, to speak, but I couldn't. You wake up at the bottom of the third mainland bridge, he said, laughing bitterly. Just like I've been drowning all these years. He stepped out to grab his car keys, leaving me vulnerable and alone. But I had managed to send a voice note to Adora on my phone telling her, Chijioke is in my house and is trying to kill me. Immediately I sent the message was when I lost full consciousness. Adora and the police arrived just in time. They saw Chijioke as he had shoved me into the trunk of his car. He slammed the trunk and rushed to his wheels. He sped off as we gave him a desperate chase. The chase led to the third mainland bridge, which was indeed his final destination. But fortunately for me, he was cornered at that point. He surrendered to the officers as Adora rushed to pull me out of the trunk. It felt like it was game over for a minute until Chijioke, in his desperation, grabbed a police officer's gun and pointed it at me, at Adora, and at every one of us. But before he could pull the trigger, the officers opened fire, and that was the end of it. Chijioke's death left an indelible mark on my life. Even after the chaos of that night, the wounds it left behind weren't just physical, they were deeply emotional. The police tried to explain it as a case of jealousy turned violence, but it was so much more than that. Chijioke wasn't just some envious rival, he was my brother, someone I had shared my dreams and struggle with. As months passed, I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the emptiness Chijioke's absence had left behind. Cybersecurity had always been my passion, and it became my refuge. I started developing a platform called Sentinel. The platform, Sentinel, was designed to detect insider threats within organizations. Ironically, it was inspired by the very betrayal that had shattered my life. I wanted to create a tool that could identify warning signs, suspicious behavior, unusual access patterns, subtle anomalies that could point to someone going down a dangerous path. Working on Sentinel was cathartic. It felt like a way to honor Chijioke's memory while also preventing others from experiencing the kind of betrayal I had. Adora played a critical role in the project, bringing her expertise and insight into human psychology to shape the platform's behavioral analytics model. People don't just turn into threats overnight, she explained during one of our brainstorming sessions. There is always a pattern, a build-up. We just need to identify it early enough. It took me a full year to gather the courage to visit Chijioke's grave. The cemetery was quiet that day, the only sounds coming from the rustling leaves and distant chirps of birds. I stood there, staring at the simple headstone etched with his name. Memories flooded back. Our late-night coding sessions, the laughter we shared, the dreams we once had. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I'm sorry I didn't see how much you were hurting. I'm sorry I wasn't a better friend." The tears came then, unbidden and unstoppable. I hadn't cried like this since that night. Adora stood a few steps behind me, giving me the space I needed. "I miss you, Chijioke," I said, my voice trembling. "I wish things had been different. Though I know you can't hear me at all because you are dead and conscious of nothing, but I only hope this makes me feel better." As I placed a small bouquet of flowers on his grave, I felt a strange sense of closure. It didn't erase the pain, but it was a step towards healing. Now, 35 years later, I look back on those events with a mixture of sadness and gratitude. Losing Chijioke was one of the most painful experiences of my life, but it also taught me invaluable lessons about human nature, trust, and ambition. Sentinel became a global success, helping countless organizations prevent insider threats and secure their systems. It's the legacy of both Chijioke and me, a reminder of what we built together, even if we couldn't see it through to the end. Adora and I went on to build a life together, but the shadow of Chijioke's betrayal and death lingered in the background. It wasn't something we talked about often, but it shaped us in ways we couldn't ignore. Every now and then, I think about what could have been, what Chijioke's life might have looked like if things had gone differently. Would we have patched things up? Would we have achieved our dreams together? Or was his jealousy always destined to consume him? I'll never know. But what I do know is this: jealousy is a dangerous thing. It festers and grows until it consumes everything in its path. If we are not careful, it can destroy even the strongest of bonds. As I sit here, reflect on it all, I can't help but wonder if there's someone out there right now on the brink of making the same mistakes. I hope they stop and think before it's too late. Because you never really forget the people who hurt you, but you also never forget the ones you've lost.